So I have good news and I have bad news. The good news is they announced a new Airbud movie this year. And the bad news is, well, just about everything else this year.
Demon Hunters, the movie, has now officially become Netflix's most streamed movie of all time.
Only here's the thing, she's not really an actress because she's not really a person.
Welcome to do that, but maybe think of an original idea. Maybe not destroy a classic from my childhood.
Netflix is announcing a definitive agreement to buy Warner Brothers in a multi-billion-dollar deal.
Live Chicken was in our theater.
We should have a tariff when movies that come in.
Hello, hello. I am Dr. Rorschach. Thank you so much for coming in today. You know, I sometimes try and beat around the bush when I record this, but I'm gonna get straight to the point. This has been a bad year for film and the film industry for a lot of reasons. You know, I think this has finally been the year that I have finally lost the good fight and truly accepted that the movie theater business is dying. I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon, and I don't think movie theaters will ever go away entirely, but the movie theater business that we knew in the 2000s and 2010s, that is gone, and it's not really coming back, or it's fading away very rapidly. And while it's easy to think that, you know, movies will just go straight to home, it's not quite that simple, because the types of movies will be very different, because some film can't go straight to streaming. But negative rant aside, the real question here is that you are here for: was film good in 2025? I have seen a lot of movies in 2025 actually, and this has been the my personal biggest year for film, because I'm just always in that ever-long search to find good film. So let's discuss what I deem to be the most worthy films of 2025. This isn't so much miniature reviews of every movie on this list, but it's more of a summarization of the things I found great about it and why I deem it to be worthy of the top 10 movies of the year. And before we start, just a few rules. It has to be a movie that I have seen this year, and a movie that has released in the year 2025, but I do think I have seen most of the big stuff this year, with two noteworthy exceptions being the Korean film No Other Choice and the American film Is This Thing On, both of which just have a very late limited release in December and a wider American release in January. So both of those I'll be catching in the coming weeks. Also going to mention that this year we have another worst of the year's list with the top 5 worst movies of 2025. And I promise you are going to want to hear some of these rants that come from this video. So without further ado, these are my top 10 movies of 2025.
We are not monogamous.
By the way, Julie and I had sex last night. Together.
All right, first on our list this year is probably the most unknown movie this year, Splitsville. It's kind of strange because Dakota Johnson was in 2 different multiple lover movies this year, and while I did enjoy both of them, I did find this movie to be a bit more enjoyable than the Materialists. On the surface, this movie can just seem like it's a romantic comedy with a bit of an E&M lens to it, but the movie does a lot to tackle the themes of desire, divorce, and wanting to constantly have things you cannot have. I was thoroughly surprised by just how much this movie had to say, but I was more surprised by just how funny this movie is. This is the most funny romantic comedy I have seen in years. There is this very on-the-nose sense of humor here that kept me laughing throughout the entire runtime of the movie. Like, for example, there's this character in this movie named Jackson who genuinely had me wheezing from laughter. In fact, there's this whole like rogues gallery of different types of boyfriend and girlfriend characters when they get to the non-monogamy part of the story, and it's just a constant roll of gags and humor throughout the entire movie that I just never got tired of. This movie also does a lot with a low budget. There's a fight scene in an apartment in this movie, and you'll know it when you see it, but they do a lot in this fight for a romantic comedy. I didn't expect to be so surprised by a fight scene in it, but it has like some really good camera work in this scene. Splitsville was a big surprise to me, and I think it does a lot with what it has, and I think this is just kind of a good movie to throw on one night, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised by it.
How did we get here? And even worse, is it worth it?
So every year during my top 10 list, there's always just one movie that I feel like I need to give this cautionary warning to, of a movie that I really enjoyed, but I feel like most general audiences are not going to enjoy this movie. And this year, that movie is Eddington. For you horror fans out there, you may be a bit familiar with a director named Ari Aster, and Ari has given us a literal Trojan horse of a film here. On the surface level, this movie seems to be a movie that is just satirizing the early parts of 2020, giving a more left and right viewpoint of the early moments of lockdown and protests, and highlighting all the things that we saw during this time. And during all of this, during the film's runtime, I was having an all right time, and I was mildly enjoying the movie and having a few laughs here and there. But then we get to the end of the movie. So this film's final revelation, and no spoilers by the way, it completely catches you off guard, and it really hits you over the head with what the true theme of the film was. It's not like a twist or anything, but it's more of a reveal of the entire message and theme of the film. And I felt like I completely viewed the entire movie differently after this point when looking back at it retrospectively. So I'm not going to say the specific event by name. You probably know what I'm referring to. But something very unfortunate happened in America during September of 2025. And all I'm going to say here is that Eddington predicted a lot of this, and the parallels to a lot of the events of the movie to versus what happened in real life in America are very scary. I mean, it almost came off as a warning for something to come in the future months. And it made me look back at this film even more fondly just because of this cautionary tale it has back more towards the initial theme of the film.
And the view is gorgeous.
Look, we had a couple of really nice hangs, but I think it best that we go our separate ways. I don't wish to continue this friendship.
Next up, we have Friendship. I'm going to give Tim Robinson a lot of props because he has really and genuinely revitalized this more, man-child type of humor that was popular in the late 2000s and early 2010s that was completely dominated and kind of pushed away by Will Ferrell. Friendship is very reminiscent and definitely inspired by Jim Carrey's 1990s movie, The Cable Guy, and it also kind of reminds me of the very dramatic Banshees of Inisherin that came out a few years ago. Similar to Robinson's recent popular Netflix series, I Think You Should Leave, this movie, Friendship, is a comedy very reliant on Robinson's awkward humor and uncomfortable mannerisms. And I will say that the enjoyment of this film very much hinders on just how funny you find this type of humor. I think personally that this humor works well for me, but it also works very well here because of Tim Robinson and Paul Rudd's relationship in the film, with Paul Rudd playing, the more typical anchorman, cool guy, being the complete opposite of Robinson's awkward man-child character that he has here. And while this humor definitely isn't for everyone, I found this film to be just completely hysterical, and I can just remember so many of the good bits to this very day since then. And there's also just this very unexpected sweet moment at the end that I was very surprised by. In terms of traditional comedies, I think this is the best comedy of 2025. And after seeing some of the other stuff that Robinson has done this year, such as the TV show The Chair Company, which I do recommend, I'm very excited to see Robinson's comedy future in film.
Welcome to the headquarters of the human resistance.
Where's my hair?
Your hair has been destroyed to prevent you from contacting your ship.
What ship?
Your mothership?
All right, next up we have Bugonia. So I can easily say here that I'm just a little bit biased when it comes to this film just because of the talent behind it. Jesse Plemons is my current favorite actor, and Yorgos Lanthimos is one of my favorite modern directors. He directed my second favorite film 2 years ago, and dude's been on a very good streak of films. And this was my most anticipated movie this year, and for the most part, it met a lot of my expectations. This movie felt like a very modern conspiracy theory version of Stephen King's Misery, mixed in with some dark humor and modern corporate America commentary. I really enjoyed just how this movie embodies and personifies modern conspiracy culture that seems to be growing every day in America, even down to the transition cards. You are seeing all these different notes and allusions to the conspiracies that we are experiencing in American culture right now. But the movie seems to have this very unexpected message of understanding behind this modern crazy conspiracy theorist culture. And in many ways, this movie shines a much needed light behind the people who are behind this type of culture and just how they were wronged and how they got to these kinds of points and what pushes men to go mad. As expected, and you shouldn't be surprised here, Jesse Plemons is phenomenal. No other actor can really do this small man in big power role that he has just completely captivated and dominated in movies this past 10 years. And Emma Stone is also quite good in this movie, and it's incredible to just see these two be a complete foil to each other. I genuinely loved the twists and turns of this movie, and it had me guessing until the very end of the movie, which is a big sign of great filmmaking.
Today, tonight, and tomorrow, we rendezvous with every Titan and pretend we agree what we already agree. But in fact, we don't. We can't.
All right, next up we have the Phoenician Scheme. I feel like by this point, it's kind of hard to sell Wes Anderson movies. I find Wes Anderson films to be subjective in general, and then the quality of his films to be subjective among his fan group. But personally, I find this one to be one of my favorite films of his. This movie has all of the Wes Anderson trademarks that you would ever expect. It has an ensemble cast, stage play acting, very humorous dialogue, symmetrical shots, great colors, and very beautiful sets throughout the film. As expected, all actors in the Phoenician Scheme leave a very lasting impression, and even the ones with very brief screen time. There's a scene in this movie with Tom Hanks and Bryan Cranston, and it's a very humorous scene where everyone's playing basketball over a bet. And this is one of my favorite scenes in a movie and has stuck with me throughout the entire year. But beyond all of this, I think what I love the most about the Phoenician Scheme compared to Wes Anderson's most recent films is that this is a much more focused entry, and it has a much more focused main character story and main character arc than his most recent movies, and I found this to be so refreshing. So I think if you haven't enjoyed any of Wes Anderson's past films, maybe give that a try. And if you've never experienced a Wes Anderson movie, this may be the most welcoming film of his filmography.
I know this is hard to talk about.
It doesn't feel that you know that.
We know what you're going through. We are women. What?
Our next film is Sorry Baby. Sorry Baby takes on the extremely difficult task of visually illustrating the many effects and troubles following a sexual assault. The film tackles the many phases of recovering and how such a thing affects someone in the short term and long term of their life, how it affects things like their friendships, their love life, their trust in other people, their sexuality, and even just their own daily safety. It shows how shadows of the past and small revelations can be this extremely upsetting thing for someone, and that no one around them is going to be seeing and experiencing the pain that person is coming from a triggering event. I felt extremely educated by this movie, and I think many people could benefit from watching this to understand the worlds of people who have been assaulted by someone else. There's a scene in this movie that encapsulates how just one small act of kindness from a complete stranger can forever stay with a person, and it's easily the most beautiful moment I've seen in a movie this year. This movie embodies so much about what I love about film and how the most tragic things can be used for a beautiful expression in film like this. And I hope that this movie can be used as a tool for people affected by such horrible things and can help them and their loved ones come to terms and better understand their struggles.
And it's only a matter of time before I'm staring at you from the cover of a Wheaties box.
You think it's that simple?
Yeah, I do.
And next up, we have the very recent Marty Supreme. All right, I did just recently see this movie just a few days ago as of the recording of this. So this movie's position could move up or down on the list as I do have some time to digest it and have multiple viewings. I was super sad to hear about these very talented and exciting Safdie brothers splitting up and moving on to do solo work instead of directing movies together. And now that I've seen Benny's The Smashing Machine and Josh's Marty Supreme this year, which is also very strange, they both did a sports biopic in the same year after they split up, I can definitely say that Josh is the one with the directing sauce. This movie is an exciting yet stressful, loosely based sports biopic based on a real person, but very lightly. And the table tennis scenes in this movie are incredible. And I genuinely was on the edge of my seat the entire time during every single table tennis scene they had in this movie. The camera work in this movie is done masterfully, and it's done to where it's tracking the players and it shows an emphasis behind each hit of a ping pong ball somehow. And it feels like someone is swinging a baseball bat every time they hit a ping pong ball. And I just love how they put so much heat and emphasis and impact into every single hit. Timothée Chalamet is incredible here, and this is probably his best acting performance to date. It's very Ferris Bueller inspired. He's super smooth and has this maxed out luck skill throughout the film. There is a very good chance that Timothée wins an Oscar for this movie for Best Lead Male, and the entire cast is also very great. I was most surprised by Tyler, the Creator's acting chops here, and I do kind of hope to see him in more movies after this film. This movie also has the best use of music in a movie this year, surprisingly. I loved the original score as well as the soundtrack that they play throughout the film. It's all done so very well and adds so much more depth to each scene. You know, I'm not much of a sports guy, and I don't really care for sports movies either. I think the last sports movie that I really loved was Ford v Ferrari, and similar to that movie, I think that Marty Supreme has made me a fan of it, and then it can make me look past my limited knowledge of a sport to love this film and find it exciting. And honestly, I may watch more table tennis after this movie because it's
Be
because the night before, at 2:17 in the morning, every kid woke up, got out of bed, walked downstairs, and into the dark.
All right, next up we have Weapons. Similar to the director Zach Cregger's other film, Barbarian, I think the best experience of this movie is going in as blind as possible. So I want to be a bit vague here and not talk too much about this movie. But this movie is a twisted good time. It has some good scares, disturbing gore, morbidly dark humor, and this movie is somehow one of the funniest movies this year as well. It has a pretty tight script and some surprisingly good performances from its ensemble cast. This movie has this non-linear Pulp Fiction character point of view style to it that really kind of gives you this different lens to what is happening in the movie, and you go by person by person by person, and each time you get a different piece of information. And I love just seeing each different perspective and slowly piecing together what was going on in this movie. Some may find this more segmented pacing and length a bit frustrating, but I personally enjoyed the entire ride of this movie. And also, the last 15 minutes of this movie is batshit insane. And it contains scenes that you will genuinely never forget. It reminds me a lot of like the last 15 minutes of The Substance, and I was in just complete shock with my jaw just completely dropped during the final moments of this movie.
You have to understand, Willa.
Me and Mom used to run around and do some real bad shit. They got hurt. Now they're coming after us. Sorry.
All right, our runner-up for best movie of the year is One Battle After Another. If I was a filmmaking professor, I think this would be a movie that I would use to teach screenplay writing and dialogue writing as well, because this is phenomenal in those areas. And Paul Thomas Anderson reaches Tarantino levels of dialogue writing in this movie. This is an incredibly crafted film, and I felt invested in every single scene of the movie. But I think I was just more in admiration of the performances and dialogue I was seeing on screen during this film's runtime. I've always liked Leo as an actor, but this is the first performance of his that I have truly loved. Playing a revolutionary turned stoner Big Lebowski type, he is incredible in every single scene he is in, and this is easily my favorite performance he has ever given in a movie. But most surprising to the movie is Sean Penn's character as the antagonist of the film, because his character in this movie is insane and has this very perverted, dark humor that he plays into in a lot of his scenes. Penn plays it very straight, which adds to the twisted humor of this character's situation so much more. Dude is like playing this psychopathic live action Wile E. Coyote somehow, and I can't imagine a reality where Sean Penn does not win Best Supporting Actor in a few months, because this is the best character of in a movie this year. The film format can be a format where it's truly hard to make a villain be impactful in just one film, because they don't have enough time to truly establish the villain like they can in something like a TV show or a trilogy. But Sean Penn's character in this movie is easily the most memorable non-sci-fi villain in the past decade. Beyond all that, this movie's also surprisingly hilarious in many different ways. There's a lot of morbid humor surrounding Penn's character, like I mentioned, but there's also a lot of fast-paced, bickering humor with Leo's character, such as his interactions with Benicio, and it always provided some great laughs to lift the tension on the more serious subject matter of what was going on. And trust me, this movie goes to a lot of subject matter that you didn't think it would ever come up with. In many ways, One Battle After Another echoes many influences and styles of some of the greatest films of all time, such as No Country for Old Men. And so I can say that if you love this movie, you will go absolutely crazy about this movie.
I've been all over this world. I seen men die in ways I ain't even know was possible. Love you, brother. Be careful. I will.
In the year 2025, my movie of the year is Sinners. The best way I can describe Sinners is that it is just a prime example of masterful film craftsmanship. There's an incredible cast in this movie, and I could talk about the entire rogues gallery of characters that this movie has somehow squeezed into this 2-hour film. Like one of the best characters in the movie is this random guy named Cornbread, but the real main attraction of the movie is very obviously Michael B. Jordan, who is in the prime of his career in this movie. Dude is so good that there's 2 of them here. They double down on the Michael B. Jordan, which, by the way he is playing the characters, they're not only on screen together, they're also interacting with each other. So Michael B. Jordan is having to talk to himself in this movie, and it's incredible how they've somehow captured and done this to have these two, to the point that you could almost convince me that he had a secret twin brother, Michael A. Jordan, this entire time. This movie really shines with its visual storytelling and the music heard throughout the film. It's almost like a grand tribute to Black music and Black art and expression in many ways. There's this incredible one-shot style scene where the movie tributes multiple decades of Black music, and the scene truly needs to be seen to be believed with just how great this scene is. And if you've seen this movie, you know what I'm talking about. This film also tells a story masterfully about systematic oppression while using vampires as this allegory for racial exploitation during the 1930s. But there's also less subtle and deeper themes throughout the movie, such as the relationship between art and religion, as well as the power of ancestral connection. I could talk about this movie for a while, and this movie has honestly been talked about to death because it released near the beginning of the year. And for this reason and many other reasons that I have not listed here, Sinners is my movie of the year. Okay, wow, this got much longer than I originally anticipated. If you made it this far, I do want to say just thank you so much for watching the video this year and supporting my channel. One thing I did kind of want to briefly talk about really quickly is the power of film involved in friendship. A couple weeks ago, I unfortunately lost one of my best friends unexpectedly. Growing up, this friend and I's favorite thing to do together was watch movies together, among many other things, but we were at the movie theater on a near weekly basis, just seeing just about any single movie we could see each week. I bring this up just to say that film and a lot of media can be powerful mediums to bring people together and to create very special bonds. And so I just bring this to your attention to say, always be appreciating the people that you do spend time with watching movies, playing video games, watching shows, or doing whatever. And one last time, thank you again so much for watching. Please do be sure to check out the top 5 worst movies of 2025. I am Dr. Rorschach. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great 2026.